So we're getting things started on the garden around here, and I thought this would be a great time to do an update and show you everything that's happening as we get started on this garden season. And it's especially going to be a really, I think, fun video for you guys. I hope it is, because we have moved. So there's all new stuff happening. There's new beds, new areas, new plans, new ideas, and a lot of unknowns as well, just trying to kind of figure out using this new space, using what's already here, but also thinking about how we might want to change things. So I'm going to give you an overview today and kind of take you through and show you some of the different areas, what we've been working on, what we're planning, and give you an idea of what we can hopefully expect in this new year with the garden. Of course, things always change as the year goes on, but I've already got some ideas in my head and I've been thinking about it, so I'm going to take you around and show you what we've got going on. So one thing about this house is that the previous owners did do some stuff, but not really many food things, a lot of just different plants, and also not necessarily the way I would do it. So we've got some containers that have like this kind of fern thing going. Not really something I'm concerned about. I might move it somewhere else since it is perennial and use this container for growing something that I want to grow in a container, some sort of food thing. Or maybe we'll make this house plant, I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily want to get rid of, but I may want to move or just do something else with. There's also some garden beds. So this bed, I measured it and it's about 6 feet deep, and it comes along like this. And then there's also its friend over here, and this goes on and it kind of also like goes around the bend there. But you can see there are some plants happening, like they've got some azaleas in here, the previous owners. Pretty flowers, it's fine, but it's just kind of like in the middle of this area and nothing else is happening. And then there's like this random rose, I think it's a rose, here, and then nothingness. So a lot of what I'm doing is thinking again about how I can move this stuff or rearrange things to make it fit more what I want. Let's go back to this bed because it's a little nicer. So I've already done some work on this bed, got all the weeds and stuff out of here, and also put down some mulch. This was actually from another area of the house where there was mulch already, so we just used that. I'll show you that in a little bit. But similar situation in this bed where we've got just a few kind of sparse plantings, but nothing that I'm terribly interested in or not the way I'd want it. So what I'm kind of thinking for these beds is, especially because they're so deep, you know, in the back doing something a little bit higher, something that we don't need to get to as much because it is so far back. And then kind of working in a lot of perennials. I thought about maybe we could do strawberries in these beds. Maybe we do like a hedge of herbs or something. I don't have a definite plan yet, but I'm just kind of thinking about how we can use this to look nice, but also produce some food. And honestly, that's one of the big changes, I really think, for this garden compared to my previous garden, is that previously it was not something that was permanent because we didn't plan to be there for a super long time. So I wasn't planting as many perennial things, and also I wasn't as concerned with appearance or thinking about like a long-term strategy. It's more like, let's have an area where we can grow some food and it'll be fun, but it's nothing like too serious either. Whereas now, because we're in a place where we intend to stay a lot longer, you know, I'm thinking more about kind of the long-term plan and having some things that are a little bit more permanent and thinking about more of the aesthetics and making it not just a place to grow food, but how it all fits together with perennial things and then where the annual things go in and all kinds of stuff. I did recently get a book, Edible Landscaping. I'll link it for you below the video. I'm really liking it. It's helping me learn how to think about this stuff in a new way, or at least in a way that I personally have not done before, and kind of some of the things you have to consider. So again, it's just a bit of a learning curve for me, and it also means the garden is going to be different. It's not going to be exactly the same as it was, and I've just got to think about that long-term approach and not just trying to get everything I want right now. This thing here is another area where we plan to plant some things. So this is actually where that mulch came from. We've dug some of it out, but we don't know exactly what was here. What we think is that there was a tree here, and this was like around the tree, and then at some point the tree got taken out, I don't know, and they like mulched the stump here and just kind of left it. So that's kind of our best bet. Now, we've already done some work over here. So this side had, I guess, from roots from the tree that used to be here, like popped off and was like falling open. So we got that back in. This side was not here, but there were some horseshoe beds in another area, and we're not really worried about horseshoes, that used exactly the same beams, same size and shape. So Jason was able to pull one of those up and then just cut it so that it fit and kind of fit it together. So now we've got this whole big area, and what I'm thinking is, you can kind of see this path stone. We also have some of these around that the previous owner had left. So I'm thinking we're going to do this like a keyhole bed. So we'll probably put some stepping stones that go out to the middle, and then the plants will fill in all around that. So right now I'm thinking this is where we'll put tomatoes probably this year. Put the tomatoes on the outside, so you know, you can grab them from the outside. But then on the inside of the bed, have some lower things, so we'll be able to step into it and then just kind of go to our left or to our right or in front and pick what's there. So that's what we're thinking now, but of course, you know, we'll see how things end up and how it actually works. One thing I do have in the ground now are some peas. They haven't come up yet though, but I'm using tomato cages for those. So I've got some snap peas here around these 2 cages that I planted recently. And then these 2, I have snow peas. They're the ones I showed in my seed haul. So if you haven't seen my recent seed haul, I'll link that for you. But I did get these new snap peas this year. They have purple flowers, and I'm hoping they're gonna do well. But this was kind of an area here where the grass wasn't growing and it was just kind of bare dirt. So while we're still trying to figure things out and like long-term planning, I was like, hey, I'll throw some peas in here. They don't take super long to grow. We'll pull them out. It's nothing too serious. We have the tomato cages. We'll just use this space and see what happens over here. Oh, and if you're curious, yes, we did bring all the tomato cages with us to the new place. It was like 50 or 60 cages. These are all the ones that we have made ourselves. I also have an older video that's a tutorial on this, so I can link that for you too if you want to know how to make these. But we've got them all here. I'm sure we won't use them all this year because we are going to be doing less tomatoes because we just don't have the big garden space for it. But you know, they're just hanging out. We'll use them for various things and they'll be there when we need them. The previous owner also left this compost bin. It's not exactly my favorite dream style of what I want in a compost bin. I think eventually we'll do something different, but for right now it's working. We've been putting our kitchen scraps in here, and you know, we won't have anything super soon, but it's in there doing its thing, and we've been able to pull leaves from the woods and stuff to put in there too to kind of mix in with it. But it's this kind of style where you pull this up and then ideally the finished compost is at the bottom, right? You just pull it out. I don't know if it actually exactly works that way, but we'll see what happens. And you know, we'll use this until we get something else. So this here is another situation where we don't know exactly what's happening. This is a tree that's here. We don't know what kind of tree it is. There's a lot of this kind of wait and see stuff. Here are the blossoms if you want to help in identifying. We think maybe it could be an apple, but we just don't know. So we're just gonna have to see. And so there's a lot of things around the new place like this where it's like random trees, random plants. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but we're just gonna watch it go through its phases and see what happens. And then, you know, after this year, seeing what everything does, we'll have a lot better idea too of what we're working with, what's already here, and how we might incorporate it in our future plans. This is also a thing that's already here. So we have these beds, and we can tell that they definitely use this for some gardening because there's fencing around this. There is a lone remaining tomato cage, and yeah, you can see some different like plant tags that are hanging around. This area gets a lot of shade though, so I don't know if they had any luck growing tomatoes. I can't imagine that they did, but it's where I am planning to do a lot more shade tolerant stuff. So mostly leafy green vegetables, and you know, it's got this kind of 2-tiered thing and then this bigger area. So, you know, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how things are going to go, but I am excited to have this. Again, it's just something that's already here, so we're going to use it and see what happens, and then it'll give us more information in future years as we plan things out even more. There's also this kind of area where they have done some landscaping, so they have this ground cover that kind of comes around and goes down, and they have the previous owners put in some bushes and stuff. So this is an area where we can think about new things that we can do. So, you know, thinking about, one, the plants that are already here, what do we think of them? Do we want to keep them there? Do we want to move them? Most of the things in this area I think we'll probably keep, at least for now, but also how could we fit in some other things? Could we put in some other like fruit bushes, something that's going to produce food for us? You know, just looking at the space that's already here and thinking about how we can more adjust it to our needs, because obviously we want to grow a lot of food plants, and that's not something that the previous owners really prioritized, but I also like, you know, stuff that's just pretty. Flowers are great, they add some extra beauty, and also, you know, the birds and stuff love them, so I'm not against that. And I do plant like a lot of flowers, and I'm thinking about other flower type things we can put in, but also still trying to think about food things, especially things like berry bushes that, you know, I think could fit in great here, just figuring out what we want to get, the mix, all that kind of stuff. There's also this area that has these kind of little like landscaped little moments, I guess we could call them. There's a third one up here, but you know, all of them have some sort of plant in the middle, which is fine, but I think these could be great areas again to put some sort of food plant, like a bush maybe, or maybe we even keep what's here, but then in all this, oh sorry, I'm stepping on things, in all of this area around here we could have, you know, some sort of ground cover thing, like maybe this is where we put mint because it's kind of contained here. This could be a good place for it, or maybe we put more strawberries over here, or lemon balm, or you know, any sort of thing that could fill in this space and would look nice, would smell nice. If you want to eat it, it's also here for that. So this is another area for potential for just filling in some things or adding a little bit more of our own flair to something that already exists here. Something else I'm thinking about is how we can maximize growing space in like areas around certain trees. There are like certain trees in the yard that right now are just kind of mulched around, but I know with more of like a permaculture template, you can use the tree as kind of like a centerpiece, but then maybe you put more like a shrub layer around that and then a lower layer, so it kind of becomes its own little island of things happening. So if you've had, you know, any experience with that, I would love to hear the kind of stuff that you've done. I have a few books, and of course I watch lots of videos, but I guess our main challenge right now is just all the possibilities. So it's great, there's a lot of stuff we can do, but also sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed, like thinking about like, okay, where do I start, or how do I plan this out, or how do we progress this over several years, you know, and make it flexible, but also like trying to think about what we really want out of it. It's just a little bit more of a commitment, and also I don't want to overwhelm myself by doing too much at once. I'm just trying to kind of focus myself and think about you know, the stuff that's already here, but yeah. So if you have thoughts on that, I am going to try to plant some stuff around those areas, because the big thing right now is we don't have a big garden plot, which, like I mentioned earlier, is kind of, I think, what we want to go for, like having things more just kind of integrated in the general landscape, but also thinking about, okay, how do we grow the food things we want to grow? I'm already trying to cut way back. We're not prioritizing annuals the way we normally do. We're not going to be planting like we normally do, just because there's all this other stuff we have to think about and stuff we want to do, and everything's new, but I'm also trying to find little places to tuck things in, kind of like what I did with the peas. Like, this is an open area, we'll just put this here for now, but you know, that's not, you know, things are going to change later, so it means I won't have as many tomatoes as I normally grow, or as many peppers as I normally grow, but I'm also trying to sneak stuff in all over the place. This area is actually a perfect example of this. So this is kind of like, there's some trees here and there's some daffodils planted and whatnot, but there was just a bunch of uncut random logs here. I'm guessing it is from, here. These two trees, I guess, were cut down and they chopped it up into logs, but they never actually fully broke it down. So Jason came down here and split all that wood and has stored it various places around. But now we have this big open spot here where nothing's growing. And I'm thinking about using this to do some planting. So what I'm thinking is maybe here is where I put some annual flowers. Maybe the zinnias go here, or sunflowers or something like that, because this spot is, you know, around these trees. There is going to be some shade once the leaves come out though, so I'm not really sure how that's going to work. We just haven't been here long enough to really fully know exactly how the sun's going to hit every area throughout the seasons, but this is kind of an open area where I'd like to do some stuff that again can be temporary, and then we can think about if we want to do something more permanent later. One thing we already have a lot of here though is wild berries. So these are like a wild raspberry. They're called wine berries. They grow great here in Zone 7, Virginia, and they're really all over the place. Anytime where you go by the woods, anywhere you're gonna see these. But we have a lot of them too, and we have a lot of areas that are kind of at the edge of the woods. So we're gonna have a ton of these, and I'm really excited about it because something's here, something you don't have to do anything to. I mean, these things are considered invasive. They're very aggressive. So we'll just let them do their thing. But they're getting lots of leaves. No flowers yet, but there's a ton of these. So I'm gonna be out here picking these a lot once they come in. So that's kind of where we are right now, and I'm gonna keep you updated over the course of the growing season as things work or don't work or whatever happens, and let you know how things go. So definitely stick around for that. Also, I would love to hear more about your gardens, how things are going for you. Are you finding yourself being able to spend more time on the garden, or using the garden as a little bit of a Zen relaxation activity? I'm definitely trying to do a little bit of that because I'm finding myself quite stressed with current things that we're all dealing with. So yeah, definitely let me know how things are going with you just in general, but also I would love to hear about your garden plans, what you're doing, and what you're hoping to do this year. And if you happen to be new here and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition information and more videos like this one, then make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I'm going to show you how to do it. And if you want to watch some more videos, I have a couple linked over here that you might like. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.